plaintiff, Morgan Bijou, says she was addicted to opiates and heroin, and she met the defendant when she was in a drug recovery program. Morgan claims she and the defendant went to get lip injections together, and she paid for the defendant's procedure, but she has yet to be repaid, so she's suing. Defendant Danielle Osborne says after she gave birth to her children, she became addicted to pain pills. As a result of her drug addiction, Danielle lost everything, including her children. And she feels Morgan is suing her prematurely because all of her money is going towards the fight to get her children back.
All right, start with you.
All right, so I met Danielle in about 2015. We're actually both in recovery from different types of drugs, opiates. So,
Opiates?
Yeah, like heroin, painkillers.
Same thing that's sweeping the nation? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I ended up getting started with that in about 2011.
How old were you?
17.
How did you get involved with that?
I met a guy who was already addicted.
He offered you some?
Yes, and I accepted, and it was all downhill from there. You know, like some of the worst points were being homeless and a lot of the other consequences that come with drug use. So
how did you recover or begin recovering?
We actually broke up, and then I went to treatment. And after we broke up, I was able to start getting better and change location. And
how long have you been in recovery?
Since 2014.
Great.
So.
Great. Glad to hear that. I ask so that others who are watching, parents, relatives, and those who are caught in the grips of that epidemic will know how. And so for those using opioids and those using crack, getting away from the environment and getting treatment, right?
Exactly.
That's what many people have to understand when you come out of treatment and you go right back into the same environment, which most people have to do because they can't afford to move out of the community. It's almost impossible.
Yes.
To get off, right?
Right.
Because you're going to see the same people and you're going to see it and everything's going to look like crack or heroin. So I'm glad that you did it and now you're giving some good insight as to how others can do it. You want to give me some background?
Sure. So I met Morgan in recovery, like she said.
Give me your story.
I've also been addicted in the past, 2 years in recovery now.
Good. How did you get started?
So
And what age? Go ahead.
Oh, at what age? Just 23. I had 2 children prior to that and was hooked to pain pills after childbirth, and it just progressed into bigger and more expensive.
What type of pain pills were you originally prescribed?
Percocet.
Percocet. How long were you using legitimately? How long was your prescription?
So once my prescription ran out, I looked for it in other places.
How many days did they prescribe it, though?
For 30 days, they were gone in about 12, maybe even 5. Lost everything. I have 3 children. I have a significant other who's also in recovery, has 2 years himself. And we're in a grueling custody battle to get them back, our children back.
And you all are in Connecticut, it appears?
Yep.
And Connecticut, New Hampshire, a lot of those states are hit very, very hard. All right, what are you suing for today? We had to talk about this a little because this is one of the most important issues and challenges in society, and no one's been able to come up with a solution. So I wanted to make sure those who are in recovery, we kind of get some insight as to how it occurred and what some of the ways to avoid relapse. But the loan, go ahead, you tell me about the loan.
All right, so when it comes to the loan, about a year ago, I ended up having a breast augmentation done, and it really gave me a lot of self-esteem and confidence and, you know, all that stuff. So
how long ago? Oh. We do applaud success, but that's not part of, how long ago was it, ma'am?
I was actually August 2016.
August of 16. Go ahead.
So.
That's all right, you gotta go home to your wife. My wife, I ain't clapping. You go ahead.
So I wanted to get lip injections done too, and
Lip injection
Yeah.
to make your lips fuller?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Why? Is that fashionable, right? It's fashionable, right?
yeah, it looks good.
Okay.
I actually have this picture if you want to see
Let's
what we
see it.
looked like
And
when we had them.
the funny thing about this, folks, is black folks for several decades have wanted to get European hair. They buy the weaves and everything. They can make their hair straight because African hair naturally is tight curls. Caucasians, lips and buttocks are very small, typically, naturally. But now they're getting injections into the lips to make them bigger and more African. And they're getting injections into the behind to make them bigger and African. So, we've come a long way in society. I love it. Black folks want to look like white folks. White folks want to look like black folks. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. I love it. All right, so these are your injections. Okay, go ahead. So, what happened with the loan here?
So I ended up, they were $642 for the injections. And I told Danielle that I would have no problem lending her the money because it's a lot of money up front. I was going to put it on one of my credit cards and she would just pay me back in increments. So we actually have this promissory note too.
See it, please.
Which says that she would agree to pay the whole $642 in 6 months at payments of $107 each. So in June, because this all happened in May. So in June, Danielle made her first payment of $107, which was fine. And after that, she didn't make any more payments. You know, she has other stuff going on, but you know, we did have an agreement. And with that being said, I tried to collect and everything.
What has she said the last time you tried to collect?
She said we would have to revisit it in a few months.
Tell her you have. We are revisiting it. What do you want to tell me about this, ma'am?
So I did ask Morgan if we could table it, if we could revisit it in a few months. I'm having difficulties with financials. Everything that I have is going into my custody case for my children. Everything that I make, my significant other makes, goes to our attorney who represents us in Superior Court. We were representing ourselves in probate, and we didn't get anywhere for 2 years. So we decided to hire somebody, and literally everything we have is going into hair follicle tests and to pay this lawyer. So I asked Morgan if we could please revisit it. At that time, when I was making that payment, when I signed the agreement, I was making more money.
All right, so your only defense is that at this point you can't afford it.
Yes.
All right, and that's not a legal defense. So I'm gonna have to grant her judgment. And in the meantime, Doyle, you know folks tell me from time to time, and you probably hear it, they say you and Doyle are a fine example of black and white races getting together very well. You're friends, we can tell you like each other genuinely, but I think we can take it a step further. And this is to be a great example for society. They'll really know that we can reconcile and get along if you'll get your lips injected.
Okay. So what are you gonna do?
I'll shrink mine. I'll get my hair dyed and slicked down. And you get a fro.
Deal.
Deal? All right. Judgment for the plaintiff. Next time you see us, that's trading places is what you see. Have a good day.
It's unfortunate I had to come to this, but I didn't want it to continue to ruin our friendship. You're one of my best friends, and I love you, so.
I love you too.
You guys can hug if you like.
We can hug.
Yeah.
Hug it out.